So tell us, if you had to summarize some lessons learned about the life in the sea, what would some of them be?
Lessons learned, uh, like you are learning, as long as you can repair things and make the ship happy, it's okay. You are learning that. But what basically I think you are asking me what you learn from life point of view.
Life point of view.
Life point of view, you learn only one thing, that you have to be sincere towards your job. Otherwise, you learn nothing about life. You get a lot of time to think and
Introspect.
introspection, it is that, but that is your own. Nobody is to correct your thoughts. You learn, break things, and learn like a child only. Basically, a merchant navy guy, although people say that they move around here and there, but that is not true. They say that they have seen the world. We don't get to see the world also. You go out, go to restaurants, come back. It is not seeing the world.
Yeah. What? That's an interesting question. How much kind of breaks do you get? Like lengthwise, 2 days, 5 days.
In today's world, we are getting the, if you get more than 24 hours on a container vessel. I have spent about 25 years on container vessels.
Uh-huh.
Container vessel, if you get about more than 24 hours in any port, you are very happy.
And in 24 hours, you can't get the culture of the
No,
wherever you
no
are.
way. No,
Absolutely.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have, in my young days, we used to get a week's time.
Ah,
In Bombay, we used to come on a very small vessel, 13 days
okay.
inside. Now, 13 days of, we were not from Bombay. So our range was limited to Shere Punjab and getting food from there.
Right.
That's all. So you don't get to learn unless you are living in that country
At least a month
at
there,
least a month.
if not more. And
Yeah.
that too, not in a hotel room, but you
Yeah,
rent a
we,
place.
we see, to advertise our job and
Right.
we can talk big things.
Right.
That I fly and go here, go there. I know the world. I have seen the world. But you only get to see the bad part of the world, not the
Right.
real good things about.
Because yeah, even when you dock, you're around like the
Yeah,
shipyard
yeah,
and the ship oriented everything.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah. Wow, wow. So after I think 25 years in the or 30 years in the merchant navy, you decided to do something
I
different.
kept I kept trying, uh, after 12, 13 years. I kept trying to settle. I worked in as a contractor in steel plant. I saw that in meetings I was absolutely direct, which people did not like.
Hmm.
People did not like to, technically they didn't want to talk to us, because in merchant navy especially, what happens that you have a merchant navy engineer is experienced in operation, running, operation and maintenance, all three. Whereas if you go to industry, you will find that operators are different, somebody else is running, and maintenance guys are different guys. The operator will give this, I am having this problem with my machine, the maintenance guys will come and repair it and go. Whereas we, since we are living there, we are like a in-house surgeon. In-house surgeon, anytime call, and we have to repair, because we are sailing with the vessel. We have to ensure that whatever repairs we are doing are going to last. It's not just an eye wash.
Right.
So this is what we learn, basically, to do a proper job. Unless you do a proper job, it is not going to work. That is the difference between us and the shore engineers. Shore, the lower guys like fitters, the people who are not as educated as engineers, they will touch their hand, they'll put their hands in machines. Engineer is a sahab, he will not. So
Right.
in India, we are trained like sahabs. We
It's
expect.
it's kind of like the startup world where because it's a startup and resources are limited. Like even though I'm the founder, CEO,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
I have to do anything, everything.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's not a big company. It's not structured like that.
As a joke, it has happened at sea that nowadays the youngsters come on a ship, and he is looking for his office. He comes with a briefcase, suited, booted. He is looking for his office, and people make so much fun of him that there is no office for you. You are the junior most guy, and you go and
Boiler room.
boiler room and engine room and clean. get yourself dirty as soon as possible. Otherwise, people will make you dirty. So this is the difference between us and work. If you are see in other countries like Japan, America, even UK, the engineer will touch things. Engineer is not. If you go to Japan, the general manager or a top man from engineering side, he comes on the ship to visit us. He will come in a working gear.
Overalls.
Overalls. If you come to our country, here the top guy will never come in working gear.
He won't come only first of all.
First of all, he'll know we won't come.
Yeah.
Second, if he comes by any chance, he'll come with 10 guys and he'll not be, he'll suit boot. So that is the
Right,
difference.
right.
Work culture is very different in our country.
Yes. Yes. That class level sort of structure. is
Since
very
you brought this, I was wanting to speak on this subject.
Huh.
See, I have studied that why in India we are poor with our hands. You call anybody who is not from India. Maybe Pakistan and Bangladesh they
Somewhat
we
similar.
were one country only.
Yeah, similar.
I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about Orient,
Or America even.
America, okay, European countries, even Japan, even Philippines. Filipinos are the most popular seafarers in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, I'm coming to that only.
Okay.
In our country, what I have studied that first of all, this caste system is there.
Yes.
Have you heard in India that there are some people who will not put on shoes by themselves? Have you?
Well, I thought maybe the Raja Maharajas.
Yeah, it is still prevalent.
Really?
It still goes because we get to hear it from our colleagues.
Okay.
I have seen myself one accountant, small time, but he was a Brahmin, and he never used to shave. So I used to ask him, why don't you shave? He said, this is not my job. I will go to a barber to get a shave. It is his job. Now, after growing up in a culture like this, what happens is many people would say, this is not my job, that is not my job. घर में cleaning कर रहा है तो this is sweeper job. If I have some carpentry, it is carpenter job. It is not my job.
No.
I will pay for it, but it is not my job. In other countries where the labor is not cheap, then they don't have caste system. See, in India, most of the people are doing their jobs as per their caste. As per their caste. They do everything. Carpentry, he'll do. Painting, he'll do. Because there is no such system. Everybody knows from the beginning that this is how we have to survive and we'll use our hands to do everything.
Right.
In my country, we are हाथ से काम नहीं करने का.
No, but I think maybe that's more a sort of rural India thing, because someone born and brought up in Mumbai will not be like that, I would
In rural India, if you put me in a place where I have to select people for marine engineering, I'll select people from rural places now. Because,
Really?
yeah, a farmer's son is still better. I want a guy who can still put his hands. I have seen that people are so weak, they cannot hold.
But I think in the metropolitan cities, they are brought up a little bit more sort of international thinking style, and it's not so much that older caste systems type thing. Or
No, okay, no. The caste system, I am giving you the reason why we are not allowed to do certain things.
Huh.
That is one part. The second part is, if you are a child of luxury, you have
Yeah,
lived in luxury.
Well, sure.
You stay in Bombay or you stay anywhere, you will never be able to face the life the way it should be faced. There we are very weak.
Yes.
Our guys are weak because I'm working.
You grow up with servants.
Yeah, I am seeing everybody, and I know that where this Indian cannot work and where this Filipino can perform much better than my guy.
Right.
So I would certainly like my guy to become better than him. You see, that is where we fail, and the children should be made to work right from day one. Even at my home, I want my grandchildren to fetch water from themselves. But they are watching that some servants are around, so they'll order get water. So that is our training, which is not correct.
Right.
Everybody has to go through the tough times, then only they learn. This is what we believe. even if you create a tough time artificially, not really. That is why this initially a worker comes to a factory, he's ill-treated. It is all to
Tough
to
enough.
train him
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
It's a simulated toughness. It's not actual toughness.
Right.
So it's just create an atmosphere of toughness for him so that he learns to tackle it.
Right.
Nowadays you can't do it.
So is that thinking or the realization of that brought you to trying to reform the education system of India?
Education system, why I want to reform is I'm not from 10 plus 2, I'm from 11 plus 5.
Okay.
Now 10 plus 2 in India means 10 years
Right.
plus 2 of secondary school and then 4 years of college.
Right. That's what I did.
No, I'm not from, from a previous system where we used to do metric 11th,
Okay.
higher secondary, 5 years of engineering.
Okay. But it adds up to the same
It
thing.
adds up to the same thing. So 5 years, I am saying 5 years of engineering is not necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. Why it is not necessary? Because we are taught generic engineering. I would like to say that you should ask people that what do you want to become in life? I want to become a teacher. Okay, these are the subjects for you. I want to join I want to join steel plant. Everybody has something in mind.
Right.
I want to work for Bharat Heavy Electricals. I want to work for BARC. So accordingly, you make a syllabus for such guys and give practical training as far as possible, because we are weak in practical engineering.
Yes.
Application engineering, we are weak.
Yes.
A ship's requirement, if you want to come to merchant navy, first of all, there is no need of sending highly educated guys, because we are, as it is, overeducated for ships.
Right.
A ship requires working with hands, opening machines, clothing, working, your ability to work on lathe. Now we have worked on lathe. We have worked like fitters. But nowadays people cannot operate lathes. Ship working has not changed much.
I remember doing a lathe just a little bit for a lab class
Yes.
back years ago.
So on a ship you don't. Today a fitter also whose job is to turn the lathe.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Right.
He doesn't know. So
I had a question. Because I know someone who's in the merchant navy, and he's not an engineer. So, are there other roles besides just all this?
navigators.
Gotcha.
Navigators. There is a big contrast in merchant navy that navigators physically don't have any work
Hmm.
in comparison to engineers.
Right.
Engineers have physical work.
Right.
Till you reach a position, you have to do physical work. Navigators' job is to guide the vessel, instrument aided, and their experience based. And loading, discharging in container vessels, the loading, discharging is also arranged by shore offices, logistics. So this contrast is there. Their life is simpler than us.
Probably.
Simpler, and they are the face of the vessel, so they are known. See, there are captain of the vessel. Captain is the administrative head on the vessel. Chief engineer is the technical head on the vessel.
Right.
But the world will know captain.
Right.
Engineers, as it is, engineers are always in the background.
Yes.
Engineers hardly come.
That's true even in my experience
this
in
is a fact.
electronics also.
You all your life you strive to get class 1, 90%, 80% marks. I want to become an engineer, and finally you will see that your position in life will be
Right.
pushed behind.
In the background.
Yeah, in the
You're
background. You are in the background.
Definitely. No, that's what I was
Yes,
saying.
yes,
Even
yes.
in my background is electronics,
Yeah.
same stories.
Yeah.
You're in the background.
So that is a tragedy. I would say engineers should also be made to learn the life proper. They should not be dumped in, to handle machines only.
So, coming back to the education system,
Yeah.
my experience also is, especially with the Indian system, is it's very bookish knowledge type of thing. You're not taught to think creativity, think out of the box. It's just memorize a book, throw it right back into the exam and
just
that's
to
it.
pass, just to
Yes.
pass.
Or get high marks.
Yeah.
Because marks is the biggest thing. But the thing is, that doesn't help you on the practical side of things
No.
at all.
No. Practical side only. What helps is your own drive.
And sort of experience
Yeah.
and doing it and
No, once you have drive, you will have experience.
right.
If I don't, there are many people. Once new guy came, he was given a job. He says that I have not come to do this job. It's a dirty job.
Right.
So he was sent home because he has no requirement on the ship. If you come with this attitude,
Right.
as it is, the number of persons is less on the ship. If I am not doing my job, that means somebody else has to do.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we have limited number of people.
But how did the Indian education system become this way in the first place?
Indian education, even in merchant navy specialization, when we initially did mechanical engineering, then we did 1 year of marine engineering. Although there is a parallel course going 4 years, marine engineering certificate course was going on. Certainly, there was shortage of engineers because of many ship finding it very expensive to run vessels due to the Iran-Iraq war. Iran-Iraq war, the preparation for the war started in mid-70s. So the ships were idling around. So they could not, the Europeans were sailing. So they could not afford to pay European salaries. So they were looking for
Right.
cheap
cheaper.
labor.
Yeah.
Somebody got a bright idea in India that we have so many, mechanical, electrical engineers and we can't give them jobs. And how about sending them to sea by just giving them, initial training?
A little bit of training.
A little bit of training. That's how we got a chance.
Okay.
But after having worked on the vessel, we find that we are absolutely overqualified. We don't need this kind of education. Many ships in the world are running with undereducated people. They are also running. You don't need the Bs and MEs to run the vessel.
Yeah, that was my experience also. After I finished, I did bachelor's, master's, then I got a job and all that studying and all, it wasn't useful much at all.
And see, still, there was a time when I was young, there was demand for merchant navy officers for marriages.
Right.
Yeah, there was demand.
And why? Because उसके पास पैसा होगा.
पैसा होगा, dollars. Now I see my junior colleagues. The girls are refusing. They say we want full-time husband. So
that is tough, obviously, because he's away. So that's
he's away. Nobody's preferring that because your life gets affected. You may accept, don't accept, don't like, but your married life gets affected.
Oh, of course.
You are out of the home always.
Right.
So this is, you don't learn many things in life, and which I regret.
No, the Indian education system doesn't prepare you at all for anything really. Just all you do is memorize and.
See, let me give you one example. People are thinking that merchant navy will give you this, that. Okay, it gives, but the cost you pay is very high.
Right.
You pay. If I wanted to get my child admitted into a school, nobody knows me.
Right.
No.
Because you're out of the country.
I have zero contact.
Right.
I may know somebody in Bangladesh or I may know somebody in Philippines, but he is of no use to me.
Right.
So this is what is the.
So how are you going about changing the Indian system?
How? That is what I want to. Why I wanted to desperately talk to someone that if first of all you change the system of education, education should be work based. What work you are going to do, accordingly you should educate a guy. You have made a curriculum for okay, you do this, you will be mechanical. You do this, you will be electrical or electronics, whatever. But once you come to the job, you find it that I know engine like this only, but this is a totally different. How to open it? How to start?
Right.
How to even take a first move?
Yes.
They don't know. You are standing like a dead man in front of,
Yep.
although you are highly educated.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I remember that was in the beginning, my first job.
yeah.
It was like just trying to figure everything out because,
Whereas doctors,
uh,
you compare now ourselves with doctors. Doctors are educated with the patients.
right,
Their subject is with them all the
because
over the
the human
time.
body is the same.
Human body, they are touching, they are doing
And-
what outdoors or indoors, I don't know what OPDs,
right.
and they are under training. Engineers never get this chance. We are
Well, we
the
have lab classes, but they don't.
lab is only lab.
Yeah, they don't show
Lab is
the real
some
picture.
attend. See, we were also given training on lathe,
Yeah.
but who did our jobs? The workers there.
Right.
The the person who is teaching us,
Acha, the lab assistant.
lab assistant. He does our jobs finally.
No, see, I was in the US. That wasn't the case. But here's the thing. But one thing that stood out for me about labs, first of all, was it never matched the theory. So they would say, "Oh, your lab will take 10 hours." Actually, it took 100 hours because what would happen is we'd make the circuit. I was in electronics, right? We'd make the circuit and it wouldn't work. Then we're trying to figure out, okay, what's wrong. And it would take hours and hours and hours. And finally, acha, this connection is wrong or whatever, and then we'd do it. So there was already a huge disconnect between the theory we learned in the book and then actually making the circuit in the lab. So that was already there. And then there's a further disconnect that when you go to the company, because now they have their own, systems, whatever,
Yeah.
and equipment and everything is all different. So there's a huge difference between the book to the actual working at the company and making it work at the company.
Yeah.
So, but how would you change that? Because I would imagine changing the Indian education system is like trying to change, move the tide.
The thing is, what my thought is that one should, first of all, the Indian family should not run after their kids to make them engineers unnecessarily.
The other thing also is the pressure on the marks.
हाँ marks वो भी जरूरी नहीं है life में, because I have seen the toppers
Yeah.
not getting anywhere in life,
Yeah.
and people who have failed a number of times are sitting at the top.
Right.
So the life is a totally different matter. Studying how many marks you get is as maybe some guys reach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are a few
Yeah, there are
good
few
marks and they also at the top.
they'll reach somewhere. It is not universal, but to reach somewhere you don't have to
Right.
earn good marks only.
Right.
क्या जो हम लोग क्या बात कर रहे थे, actually we were talking about something else, the change in system. So
How would you go about it? Like, basically, I think maybe the government really has to do something, right?
yes, the government has to employ people who have worked outside and who have seen the world and who know where is the lacuna. Somebody should invite us and talk to us. And yes, we cannot change things entirely. If I am given if I have to give a suggestion, I always tell people that you should educate yourself up to class 12th, learn to speak English, read, write, and then start something of your own. You take a lathe, do whatever you feel like, you be the owner of your own stuff. If you stick on that job for 5 years, you will be somewhere. Definitely.
Right.
Once everybody wants to study, everybody, you are troubling your parents, how much money they have to spend on your education. My education, my engineering, my father used to he used to keep telling me that I have spent 35,000 on you. 35,000 I did my
Back in
complete
those-
engineering.
Right. Back in those days.
Between 1970 and 1975. Now engineering costs about 10 to 15 lakhs.
But,
Minimum.
but 35,000 then was a big amount.
Big amount, yes. But today you are doing engineering and it is in lakhs.
Yeah.
And then you have no job.
Yeah. The same thing with MBAs also.
Yeah.
Nowadays, at one time, MBA craze was going on, and companies were hiring MBAs. But then, now I think that MBA craze is over.
Yeah. So why we have to train our people to do jobs? Why can't we train our people to become owners? That is what is my point.
Because once you're an owner, you can always do a job.
Yeah. You should be trained to become an owner, entrepreneur, not a worker. We are trained to become a worker. That is what I want to change. And then need-based, what you really want, that kind of education should be given. Even in engineering, mechanical engineering, you can split. People who want to go for design, okay, you go for design. I have no skill for design, so I don't want. I want to go for practical engineering. So my education pattern
Right,
will
it'll be
change.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you'll find we are made to do nuclear physics, and we are failing. We can't understand. There is no teacher.
But you know what? On that note, though, actually, I might say in favor of that a little bit, and I'll explain why. Because I did my engineering in the US, and they had a requirement that you have to take non-engineering classes, some non-engineers. At that time, I was completely, the Indian way of thinking. So I was like, no, I want to take more engineering classes and get more specialized, in engineering. But now looking back on it, those non-engineering classes that I took were actually very good and very useful, and they helped me become a more evolved person, you could say. So,
No, there's slight difference in what I was saying. See, it was in our curriculum, the regular curriculum in second year,
yeah,
subject nuclear physics.
okay,
It was so tough.
okay,
It was so tough that it was on a 12 CME. 12 CME means, see, I still remember, civil, mechanical, electrical.
okay.
And if you pass 12 CME, half your job is done. There were no good teachers. The teacher himself
Oh,
will
yeah.
not understand what he is teaching.
Right. That.
So, and this book was American book. We could not understand anything out of it. Why this was put in our subject? That is what I'm trying.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And we somehow managed to pass the subject. And just throw that book away.
Right.
It was so tough.
Yeah, because it.
So
didn't-
what was the need? There was no need. What is that is having in my life today? Nothing. I'm only cursing that. So that should not be done. What you have spent money on, your parents have spent money. What's
that again comes the difference between Indian and American. Out there, you can choose your classes.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there's a requirement. You have to fulfill a certain high level requirement over the course of 4 years. But you can take all various classes. So if you didn't want to take nuclear, you could choose not to take it and take some other one.
No, it was compulsory.
But that's the
It was
compulsory part.
compulsory.
Obviously, even in US, if you're doing, say, mechanical, there are some courses are compulsory. It means the fundamental mechanical courses are compulsory.
I think today that it was only kept in that curriculum because they wanted to show that, see what our students are learning.
Huh.
Probably that was the main reason. Otherwise, we have
To increase the prestige of the college.
prestige of the college.
What is the status of higher level in education in India? I'm talking masters, PhD level type stuff. Is that also the same thing? Because I didn't do it here, right? So I don't know. How is it also kind of that way only? Ki, study marks and memorize type of.
See, first of all, my exposure is limited to Indian education system where I have not been educated. I can only talk about subjects or things where I have been educated. Yes, I have come across people who are PhDs and this that, but I have never found anybody impressive enough. I have also found overeducated guys on ships. They were also of no use.
Right.
Then they start. They are giving unnecessary knowledge when something is bleeding inside. So how to approach this job and all. The simple thing is, if somebody is bleeding, you put a patch.
Right.
That is what is required. So that is.
So I'm doing a startup, and my podcast channel is also entrepreneurship based. So I was wondering if you had any words of advice for anyone doing a startup or.
Not exactly startup, but I would certainly like to help people who are appearing for interviews, who are thinking of joining a power plant company. Power plant company means turbine based, boiler based.